Thank you, sir. Director Easterly, your opening statement, both written and spoken, I commend the written statement as well, really kind of teases out the troubling implications of an attack on our critical infrastructure. I read it and I'm sort of left with the implication that China's pursuing a strategy designed to either hold us hostage in the event of an international incident such that we would be afraid to respond, or to actually cause casualties on the homeland. Is that an accurate assessment that I could take from your testimony?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, as I alluded to, it is Chinese military doctrine to attempt to induce societal panic in their adversary. And arguably, the Chinese government got a little bit of a taste of this in the aftermath of the ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline, May of 2021, that shut down gas to the eastern seaboard for several days. Americans couldn't get to work, they couldn't take their kids to school, get folks to the hospital. It caused a bit of panic. Now, imagine that on a massive scale. Imagine not one pipeline, but many pipelines disrupted. Telecommunications going down so people can't use their cell phone. People start getting sick from polluted water. Trains get derailed. Air traffic control system, port control systems are malfunctioning. This is truly an everything, everywhere, all at once scenario. And it's one where the Chinese government believes that it will likely crush American will for the US to defend Taiwan in the event of a major conflict there. Now, this is also a scenario that we can and indeed must prevent through both the robust practices that I mentioned in my statement, which amounts to deterrence by denial and resilience, but also through the deterrence and escalation of punishment, a credible threat, and then perhaps most importantly, through American strength and unity and the power of our values.
And General Nakasone, what would, if you have to assume they're targeting our critical infrastructure in Guam and other territories in the Pacific, what would an attack on that critical infrastructure mean for our ability to respond in the event of a crisis?
It could have a very significant impact on what we need to do to provide a series of different options that our commander in the Indo-Pacific region would want to respond with. Communications, an ability to be able to leverage our most lethal weapon systems. These are all areas that we would rely on.
And Director Wray, remind me again of this stat I thought was stunning in your opening statement, that if you focused all of the FBI's cyber professionals on the China threat, we would still be at what sort of disadvantage with respect to the humans in China that are focusing on America?
We would be at a disadvantage of at least 50 to 1.
50 to 1.
And part of the reason I say at least is because one of the things we've also seen from the Chinese government, which has devoted massive resources to the biggest hacking program in the world by a mile, is that they also work with cyber criminals.
Yeah.
Which is then a whole force multiplier to that already significant enterprise.
Roughly how many people or percentage of your resources are devoted to China, would you say?
Of our resources?
Yeah.
I mean, it is the biggest chunk of our counterintelligence program by far, and probably the biggest chunk of our cyber program by far. And then, of course, we have other divisions like our weapons of mass destruction folks who are the ones who did the work on COVID origins, for example, for the FBI. We have criminal folks, criminal investigation folks working on sort of the fentanyl part, which of course much of that is coming from precursors in China. So it's really a threat that pervades and permeates almost all of our programs.
And you have previously testified when it comes to TikTok that it screams of national security concerns. Why? What is the risk posed by TikTok, in your opinion?
Well, the most important starting point is the role of the Chinese government. The app's parent company is effectively beholden to the Chinese government, and that is what in turn creates a series of national security concerns in the PRC government's ability to leverage that access or that authority. So first, the data. It gives them the ability to control data collection on millions of users, which could be used for all sorts of intelligence operations or influence operations. Second, the recommendation algorithm, which could be used for all sorts of influence operations or to sow divisiveness, discord, And again, that's something that we wouldn't readily detect, which makes it even more of a pernicious threat. And AI, of course, enhances all of that. Their ability to collect U.S. person data and feed it into those influence operations makes it exponentially more dangerous to Americans. And then third and finally, it gives them the ability, should they so choose, to control the software on millions of devices, which means the opportunity to technically compromise millions of devices. So as you put all those things together, it is a threat that I think is very, very significant. And again, it all starts back with the starting point, which is the Chinese government itself and their role and their ability to control these different aspects of it.
Thank you. My time has expired. I'm excited to recognize the ranking member because his questioning game and prop game improves with every hearing. So, and as they say, game respects game. So the ranking member.